The Bad Batch, Episode 3, The Replacements. The Bad Batch and Omega are stranded on the Ordo Moon after their ship was damaged on Seleucami due to the shootout when trying to escape. While trying to repair it, an Ordo Moon dragon steals an important part that Echo and Tech need to repair the ship to get off the moon. So Hunter and Omega set out together to retrieve it, but during an encounter with the Ordo Moon dragon, Hunter is left incapacitated. This leaves Omega to continue the mission alone, and using what she learned from Hunter, she's then able to track the dragon and even retrieve the part without a fight. On Kamino, Tarkin and Admiral Rampart put Crosshair in command of a new unit of conscripted soldiers that are sent to Onderon to wipe out Saw Gerrera's forces, with this even being seen by Tarkin as a test for this new elite squad. However, with Gerrera already long gone and mainly only civilians left, the elite squad are asked to execute them and not leave anyone behind. When one of the recruits, ES-01, defies the order, Crosshair in turn kills him to set an example, leading the rest of the squad to comply. With an otherwise successful mission, Tarkin admits that he sees potential for using conscripted soldiers over clones, which this leads to concerning Kaminoan Prime Minister Lama Su. This was certainly an interesting episode, as it showed us two stories unfolding during the same time. One with the Bad Batch on the Ordo Moon, and also what's going on with Crosshair on Kamino. Which, based on where the show is going, then I think this might start to become the norm. Now, I just want to say, while I did enjoy last week's episode, I was surprised to learn afterwards that not everyone shared the same opinion, and that's mainly due to it focusing too much on Omega. It honestly didn't bother me that much then, but I could definitely see this becoming a recurring theme so far, especially in this episode, which I imagine may not exactly make a lot of people happy, at least for the Bad Batch story part, which I found to be okay at best. With the ship damaged, Tech and Echo need to stay behind to do the repairs, while Wrecker gets a headache due to hitting his head during the crash landing, and because of this, he can't go with Hunter and Omega to look for the part, which I kinda saw as lazy writing to simply put in any excuse to write off Wrecker so there's more screen time on Omega. And afterwards, when Hunter gets knocked out by the dragon and it's only Omega left, this really became blatantly obvious at what the writers are trying to do. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually really happen to like Omega, but if the show keeps sidelining the Bad Batch so much like this so Omega gets all the focus, then it's not really gonna make the show any better but worse. Not to mention the Bad Batch itself, it's pretty much the reason on why we tune into this show, it's not the Omega show. That said, they can certainly still give Omega her moments, but it's gotta be done right, and not with lazy writing like seen in this episode. Fortunately, we still had the Crosshair-focused portion, which in my opinion is what saved this episode, as it was pretty darn good, but also way darker than I expected this show to get. From what we can see, Tarkin is starting to really mess with Crosshair, like experimenting with his mind with these unknown procedures, and in doing so, this only further makes Crosshair become more of an unlikable character. We then basically get to meet what looks to be the very first human recruits on the Empire, and while they do seem cocky and not big fans of clones, especially ES-01, but for the most part, they're not evil. ES-01 showed us that quite clearly when he defied Crosshair's orders to execute the civilians. However, Crosshair deals with this by killing him and then makes sure that the same is done to the innocent civilians, which, yeah, 3 episodes in and we're already getting war crimes here. And to think this series is probably gonna get even darker as we go along. Now, during all of this, I do like that there seems to be a rather interesting subplot brewing behind the scenes of the Kaminoans. Because the series keeps showing us lingering shots of Nala Se and Lama Su, who obviously aren't happy with the Empire going against their contract with them, and now them even hatching a secret plan about creating a superior clone too. Yeah, if this isn't a build-up or at least a tease to a Kamino uprising happening later in the series, then I don't know what is. All in all, this episode was okay. The Bad Batch side story was too tropey and filled with questionable writing that took away from me really being wowed by it, as it was basically centered on Hunter and Omega doing a fetch quest. Riveting stuff. But fortunately, the Crosshair side story saved this episode for me, showing us how far twisted Crosshair is becoming, the Empire gradually moving toward conscription and furthering the potential of a Kamino uprising happening, which we really need to see happen in canon. But that was my take on this episode of The Bad Batch. Let me know what you all thought about the episode in the comments below, and if you haven't already, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.